Good afternoon, everyone. I have Michelle Bloom with me now, who is the Director of Ethi-Call, who is one of our member services program partners. So we're just having a chat today. Michelle's going to tell us what the Ethi-Call is all about and how it can assist you guys as PIA members. So Michelle, welcome.
Thank you, Karen, for having me. And I'm delighted to talk about the Ethi-Call service because it is such a unique service globally, actually, and obviously within Australia.
Yes, we're delighted to be partnering with you, and I think it's a wonderful opportunity to let everybody know that you're out there. So can you tell me a little bit about the Ethics Centre for beginning?
Yeah, sure. So the Ethics Centre was started 30 years ago, and it's a not-for-profit organisation, and Ethi-Call is one of the services that we offer. And our purpose is really to bring ethics to the centre of everyday life. So we do that in a number of ways. So we work with schools, primary ethics. Some people might be familiar with that program. We also have the Festival of Dangerous Ideas, which is a festival, to bring, opposing perspectives together to discuss that. And we have Ethi-Call as well as professional services as well, where we work with organisations to really build their ethical capital. But Ethi-Call is what we're here to talk about. And what that is a free, confidential decision-making helpline to help people navigate decisions, tricky decisions where they often are stuck or don't know what to do or feel torn in two different directions. And the service has really been set up to support people to work that through. So just to be aware, we don't give advice, but we do ask questions. And we've developed over 30 years a particular way of working with those questions and people to help them find the best solutions for them and their particular circumstance. So it's a very, very unique service in that regard, in that it's a philosophical counselling service as opposed to a psychological counselling service, which is has quite a different underpinning.
So that would be the major difference to other counselling services?
Yeah, I think the philosophical counselling service, sort of is built on philosophy and the Socratic method, and the Socratic method being questions and questions of curiosity and questions of character and values and so forth that really help people to understand what is the best decision for them. So that's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is this restricted just to the professional environment, or it can be utilised within professional environment as well, personal environment?
Yeah, great question. So we have about 50-50. So people will often call us who are having a personal dilemma. So whether it's a relationship breakdown, or we often have questions around conflicts that people are having personally, but professionally as well. So often people call us anywhere from chairmen and board members to executive teams to, people who work within an organisation who are struggling with an ethical dilemma. So to give you some examples of the kinds of calls that we get, it could be things like conflicts of interest, and people aren't sure how to do that. It could be, do I whistleblow? And the consequences, thinking through the consequences of doing that and using the whistleblowing hotlines that exist in organisations now. Things like navigating loyalty to the organisation versus duty to self. So people, particularly during COVID, have been asked to go above and beyond what they would normally do, and so really helping people think through the trade-offs that are often, that exist within those kinds of decisions people have to make. And then from personal decisions such as parenting. So, navigating the, parenting dilemmas. And particularly through COVID, we had a lot of employers contact us to work through the issues of vaccination and return to work as well. So they have been some of the kind of key issues that people and individuals also calling about their own vaccination dilemmas with family themselves and navigating those decisions. So it is a mixture of personal and professional dilemmas that people call us about.
Fantastic, because we all know that all parts of our lives integrate as one, and it's very hard to segregate them into each individual one. And if you're struggling in one area of your life, sometimes you just need someone to chat it through and see have a bit of direction and assistance.
Absolutely. And I think that the difference between what Ethi-Call offers and some of the other counselling services is we don't give advice. We're very impartial. So our role is not to pass judgment on what people are struggling with, but to offer that impartial perspective and ask the questions and really help people work through where they are stuck and the ethical dimensions of that. So when I say the ethical dimensions, it's usually some number of important values that are conflicted. And so it's really working through what is most important here and what are my duties and responsibilities, issues of character, what do I think is most important to consider, and who do I need to consider in the decision. So it's a very structured process to help people work that through. And the impartiality, I think, is a really critical ingredient that people find most supportive.
Yeah, definitely. I can see there that you just sometimes need that assistance to get out of your own head. And
exactly.
With the structure you've got in place will help people see the way forward almost.
Yeah, exactly. And people often get stuck, and often people turn to friends or family or wise advisors and mentors, and sometimes they're just not as available given the current conditions which we're living through. And it's often good to get that outside perspective, someone who doesn't know us, who doesn't have a bias in how where they're seeing the situation. So I think that's another added advantage of using an Ethi-Call counsellor. And our counsellors go through extensive training and supervision to ensure that their practice is really impartial and removing of bias, which often has people move in certain directions, whether it's their own bias or influenced by others in terms of the different decisions they need to make.
Yes, yeah, I think that can be very important to make that difference there and have that outside view. Are there any costs in using Ethi-Call, Michelle?
No, Ethi-Call is a free service. We offer to everybody. We get calls internationally, so calls from India and America, and particularly through COVID, we saw the calls internationally increase. And it's a national service, and it's the only service in the world. There are ethics hotlines for professional groups that offer particular advice, whether it's for accountants or lawyers or that kind of thing. But Ethi-Call for everybody, it's the only service that exists. So it's free to everyone. We fund it through generous donations from our members, which is fantastic. That allows us to do this. And we just expanded the number of counsellors actually to meet the demand that we're having as our world gets more complex and people are really struggling with the complexity of the decisions they need to make. And as you say, the crossover between professional and personal is getting blurred. So, having that outside, voice to bounce ideas off and perspectives and consider options is a really, sort of helpful thing to do in the times in which we're living.
Yeah, what an amazing service. And I, for one, until I found you ladies, I had no idea that this was out there. So I'm sure this will be a big help to PIA members as well. Anybody in that fact that doesn't need to just be a PIA member for this one. But how do we make bookings, Michelle?
So you're able to book in. So it's a booking system that we use. So if you get onto the Ethics Centre website, which is the ethicscentre.org.au, and you can go to the Ethi-Call page and book in for a time. So we have 1 hour slots It takes an hour to work through the process of a call, and we have availability 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 9:30 at night. So you can book in at a time that works for you, where you have an hour that you can really sit down and consider and reflect on the decision you need to make. So it's a fantastic service in that you can book it ahead of time. Generally, it takes, you know, a couple of days to a week or so in order to get in. But people, we have such fabulous feedback about how people experience the service and how helpful it is for them to navigate, you know, the dilemma that they have.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think to be able to, you know, book that in, if you're just working through something and you can't get to the end of it, give you guys a call, book in via the website, give you guys a call and have a chat. Can you do numerous calls, or is it limited to one per person? Or
no, we often find sometimes one is enough, one call, and then people have kind of developed the right kinds of, you know, questions to ask themselves when they are stuck again. But we have people who come back, you know, time and time again, whether to continue to work through the same issue or a new issue. So I know, you know, looking at the statistics that we do have a number of repeat callers who think of you know, get stuck again and think, oh, you know, I'll use the service to really help me work that through. And I think one of the key issues that a number of people are struggling with is this issue of moral injury. So moral injury is where we either witness or experience a situation where a decision's made that really goes against our values, and we feel quite injured through not knowing what to do, not knowing how to deal with that situation. Often you find that with healthcare workers, particularly in COVID situations, but also with situations such as workplace bullying, where people are witnessing or experiencing that, but you know, are kind of reluctant to report it because of the consequences, but it is causing them moral injury, and not knowing how to navigate that, or feeling complicit if they're witnessing it, you know, in what's happening. So the Ethi-Call service is used extensively for helping people work that through, about what action they want to take, what are their options, in order to really prevent that moral injury and mental health issues that result from, you know, witnessing or experiencing decisions that didn't quite align to, you know, how we thought it would play out, or what people are experiencing. So I think that is a really unique aspect of the service as well. And I think the times in which we're living are creating more of that sort of moral injury, because they are so much more complex, the complexities and people's, you know, understanding about, you know, what's okay and what's not okay anymore, and what we're seeing in terms of workplaces and the cultures and what we're expecting from our workplace cultures now. I think the standards lifting, we're not willing to witness what previously we might have or experienced. And so, you know, really working that through as an employee, or as, you know, a manager or a leader within an organisation is really helpful to get clear and reflect on what's important here.
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, that will just filter through all areas of your life. And I think one session with you guys would almost show you a bit of a pathway of questions asked that you could use in every element of your life as well when another dilemma pops up, because they do pop up pretty regularly, let's face it.
They do. It's surprising once you're aware of how many. I mean, ethics and ethical decision making is really just, you know, making choices about living a meaningful life. So it's like, how do you make decisions aligned to your values? And we know that when people do that, they experience greater happiness, greater fulfillment. And so that's really what we're talking about, is how do you really make decisions aligned to your values so that you can live a meaningful life? So that obviously applies to both your personal and professional life.
Definitely. Yeah, if you can really come to peace with different things that may be outside of your control, or what actions you want to make with those. I think that's great. And again, how your counsellors don't necessarily provide the advice, they give you the tools to work through it, which I think is invaluable.
Yeah, to come to the right decision for you, because we don't know everyone's circumstances, and only that it's very empowering in that sense, as the person is very empowered that they know the best solutions, and that it's asking the right questions to get to the right solutions for them and their context and the people involved. You know, that I think is incredibly empowering and honouring of the individual, as opposed to giving advice, which, you know, is really, you know, perhaps not the best solution for that person.
That's right. Everyone's got advice for you, hasn't it?
Everyone's got an opinion, as they say.
Yeah, that's right. So you do need to kind of try and forge your own way through. So this is just an amazing service, and thank you. We are delighted to partner with you and have it out there in the general public as well, that your service is there. So from us to you, we do say thank you very much for providing such an amazing service. I'm sure it will be utilised a lot, and we can certainly find out more about it either via the ethics
website, the Ethics Centre website.
Yep, which is
theethicscentre.org.au.
Beautiful. And we also have you on our member services program page on our PIA website, underneath the membership section. So, and throughout the year, there'll be obviously some articles coming through. We'll do some social media websiting and whatnot as well, just to get people out there to make the awareness of the whole program. But I think your program here is definitely an invaluable service. So thank you very much, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, and delighted to be part of this.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.